because there is a wire, there's a electricity wire in your room. You are charging your phone, you are charging your laptop, and there are these wires and cables. And when you are charging your phone, electricity is flowing in the wire, but you can't see that electricity. You can actually touch on a naked wire and die. And you tossed on the naked wire because you couldn't see there was electricity flowing in that naked wire. You can't see it. No, you can't see the damn thing. Water is flowing, you can see. Of course, you can't see even air, but at least you can feel air. But this is a thing where you can't see it. So now, if you can't see anything, then like you have to do something to visualize it. So you do 0 and 1, but even 0 and 1, I mean, you can't show electric. Can anyone show electricity? I mean, is it possible to see electricity? So, for example, when you see a bulb glow, not the LED bulbs, but the ones which have a filament. So, or a heater, like a heater where you can see the coil. How does the heater glow, and how does the bulb filament glow? Because that is a flow of electricity, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. It is the conversion of uh, electricity into another form of energy.
Yeah, into heat,
The,
and that
yes,
happens
sir.
because there is resistance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The more there is resistance, you see, I haven't studied physics and all, huh? Don't mistake. I'm just saying it from,
Sir, you're correct.
yeah, you just see it around, you just see it and then you notice, अच्छा, इसमें जरूर ये हो रहा होगा. ये थोड़ा देसी, इसमें देसी knowledge, huh? Where you fix things in the house, or you see someone else do some वो जो इलेक्ट्रिक का वायरिंग कर रहा है, like that. So the electricity is passing in through the wire, and when the resistance is too high, it starts glowing and then it lights up and then there's heat. So the filament, and that's why you will see the filaments are rolled round and round like this, so that when they are brought together, and that is the zone in which the resistance is very high. So if it is a very good conductor of electricity, then I guess it doesn't glow. The heat is not produced, but because the thing is passed on. If you pass on something, you know, then you've just passed on. It doesn't stay with you. But if you block it, then it stays with you. Right? Um, uh, so the resistance is high. It doesn't get passed on, and it all accumulates there, and electricity becomes heat. And then of course, it's not fire like you have firewood ka fire, but it slowly starts giving heat, and then it there's some change in energy there. So you can't see electricity because it is just a charge which is going, and it looks like even before internet, even before social media, even before digital and all of that, right at the base is electricity. um, and the charge is important. So, and the charge could be anything. The if you sometimes rub your hands, also there is a charge. And sometimes you on your elbow you get that charge. No, if your elbow, your inner side of your elbow hits somewhere, no, you get that vibratory kind of a thing, right? The charge on your hand. Huh? You all know that, right? Gauri doesn't know that. You touch your hand like this, hit it like this in your near your elbow. There's a
So, sir,
point.
I do. It
Yeah,
was
even on your knee.
as well. People have done that to all of
Yeah,
us.
it all always happens. Even on your knee. You hit you on your kneecap, just below your kneecap, and then your leg just jerks like this, you know. So there are these vibrations in your body. It's constantly raised, or if you rub something and suddenly, if you rub, say, a piece of polythene on your hair, and then you will see it will pick small pieces of paper and all, because there's a charge created, right? I don't know what is this charge. What the hell is charge on Suman? And that's what we need to figure out, You have to go to that level. What is a charge? We know of charge लगा दिया उस पे, like उस पे UAPA charges लगा दिया Omar Khalid पे, yeah, we know that.
Moving of atoms and molecules and ion
Yeah,
flowing and heating up that atoms and molecules and ion and making into a heat energy.
yeah. So this charge thing, nobody knows, I think, what is this charge, I mean, you write all these things, it's the electrons getting all busy and excited. That's what electricity is, Ansuman, right? That electrons get excited and all
Yes,
charged
sir.
up. And they all like say, okay, 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 chalo, chalo, let's go have a party or something like that. They go all excited, they're very loud and noisy and boisterous, and then they touch each other, and that's how apparently the electricity flows. So the nucleus, which is the positive charge, is there inside, and the electron is the negative, right, Ansuman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so there's a negative charge. I don't know something about negative. Negative people are, I think, more visible. So they pass it on. It's from electron to electron, and then apparently the Earth as a whole has the positive and
Static
negative.
charge. Yes, sir.
Static. Okay, no, yeah, but also the electron is negative, and then the nucleus and all that is positive, and there is a plus minus, and then there's a balancing. So the Earth as a whole is balanced.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that happens within each what is it called, an atom or something. Even within that, this plus minus balances out, and that's the
Yes,
stability.
sir.
Yeah. So now these are, of course, all scientific theories. They say there's a electron or something. I mean, I have never seen an electron. Satish, have you ever seen an electron? We can't see it, I guess. Maybe under a microscope, but I haven't seen one. We have to go by what scientists tell us, right? We haven't seen an electron. I haven't seen anything. Just read in the books. But you just imagine. You don't want to like insist that no, no, you show me first. Only then will I believe. You can do that, of course, quite legitimately. And I sometimes feel bad that as a student, I never fought with my chemistry teacher. Saying कि क्या बोल रहे हो यार, ये तो कभी ना ना उन्होंने देखा है, उन्होंने भी नहीं देखा है. Do you think your chemistry physics teacher actually saw a molecule and an atom and an electron and then came and told you about it?
Sir, it is all Rutherford and Bohr's model.
Yeah,
Those
some
the
model,
extent.
something which neither you know nor your teacher has seen, but we kind of take it for granted. But instead of maybe really fighting with him and saying, you first show me inside a electron microscope, all that we have to do is just imagine. We just imagine that this must be happening this way. And when you imagine it, it kind of falls in place, this electronic theory, this theory of electrons. So what happened was that once you have in this world, in the modern world, in I don't know when it is, some people say it's the 19th century, the late 19th century, when electricity came about, and AC and DC electricity, all the debates that happened between AC and DC. In any case, what we see is that electricity is here. It came, and it changed the world. So the electricity, electric charge, voltage, and all of that. And once it came, it changed our lived reality, everyday reality, everyday things around us. We cannot imagine life without electricity today, without the charge. And the charge could be manipulated in different ways. First electricity, you think of it as like giving you light, and then you giving you heat. running your industry, running your trains. Now you have electric cars, running your radios and batteries and, machines and lifts and everything else. And then in the computer age, computers and, all kinds of things. And of course, later the big thing is the fact that you have data, which is information also, the storage of information. Now, electrons, this charge, it kind of conveys a current, electricity, but how on earth this charge also would be responsible for storing data? I still don't know. You know, they say that now with the SSD, the solid state, this thing which is the pen drive. Gauri, we were talking about the pen drive. We all use the pen drive. And they say this pen drive, has some kind of electron. Apparently, there are all kinds of electrons and charges inside, and that's how they store information. I don't know how they exactly do that, but the electron is there also. So what you see is that there is a this unrepresentability is a story which is at least 100 or maybe 120 years old, more than 100, and that's where the other article that I gave you about Boccioni, that's the Italian artist and others, and it's not just him; it's an entire scene around that time, where there is where there's so much going on it's a bit like today, or maybe since at least the last 10 years, everybody talks about the internet, digital media, social media, and all of that. I think that time it was everybody's talking about electricity. Oh my God, it's a new thing, it's going to change everything. What's going to happen to our children? What's going to happen to our socialization? What's going to happen to jobs? What's going to happen to everything, So you have, say, post-truth and fake news today in the age of social media. I'm sure they had stuff like that there, the equivalent of fake news and all, and how even the formation of governments are going to change now that electricity is here, everything is changed. And like, say, with the age of social media, the very notion of truth changed, no? People talk about post-truth and all. Maybe at that time, they thought, oh my God, this is like some spirit, a new ghost has come in town, which we cannot see, which we cannot represent, but which is so powerful. And that time, apparently, when people used to die touching electricity wires, uh, they had all kinds of, all kinds of things going on around that time.
Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, Nikola Tesla and all, yeah, so I think they had a big fallout, Tesla and this Edison guy, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
and Edison, क्या था भाई बताओ, मैं तो थोड़ा थोड़ा ही पता है.
सर AC और DC ट्रांसमिशन
Yeah.
में दोनों के बीच में डिबेट था. इनिशियली एज एडिसन का प्रपोजल ये था कि डायरेक्ट करंट इज बेटर और उसको ट्रांसमिशन में ईज होता है. तो ऑल द डिवाइसेस वेर मेड अराउंड व्हिच कैन वर्क ऑन डायरेक्ट करंट ओनली. बट लेटर ऑन टेस्ला प्रपोज्ड कि ऑल्टरनेटिंग करंट इज फीसेबल फॉर ट्रांसमिशन और सारा चीज के लिए वो बेटर है. तो आज के दिन में भी जो चार्जिंग होता है बैटरी का, मतलब जब हम लोग इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कन्वर्ट करते हैं या घर में भी इन्वर्टर से चार्ज करते हैं, तो चार्जिंग डिवाइसेस आर बेस्ड ऑन डायरेक्ट करंट ओनली, एंड देन उसको एसी में कन्वर्ट किया जाता है. तो एडिसन का एक वो था, बिकॉज ही हैड दैट हेजेमोनिक फिगर, तो ही डिस्कार्डेड टेस्लाज इन्वेंशन एंड जो भी वो प्रपोज कर रहा था. Tesla had an idea कि universal transmission line, we can make universal transmission line through the transmission of electromagnetic waves by the process of alternating current. So the whole idea was discarded at that time. Then eventually we came back to the idea of transmitting alternating currents only.
Okay, and that mobilizes the electromagnetic waves, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but you said that the battery charging is still DC now?
Yes, sir. It is still DC only. Then we use मतलब in on the higher scale also और घर में भी. Then we use transformers and inverters to convert it into alternating current.
Okay. Yeah, so the other thing is that, so after this electricity thing, you have the game of electromagnetic, this thing, you know. And then it becomes, I think it becomes even more unrepresentable. You know, when you bring in the magnetic waves, I think it becomes even more unrepresentable. You know, because then you are like, you know, you are like setting up like, what should I say? You know, like it's like the tension. You know, it's like, okay, okay, a stupid example. I think of Delhi. You know, Delhi city. So Delhi, they say, is like sandwiched between. I mean, say when you say Delhi does not have a weather of its own. In summer, it's Rajasthan. In winter, it is whatever Simla, Kashmir, or something. You know, so Delhi is kind of sandwiched between these two kind of poles. You know, and Delhi is kind of turns around. You know, Delhi's weather basically kind of is a mixture of these two poles. You know, the heat coming from one and the cold coming from the other. I mean, that's how I understand. You know, I don't know the details of the science of it, but the that means that you can't see it. You know, right? If a person who is new to Delhi comes to say, Delhi में इतना गर्मी है, दिल्ली में इतना सर्दी है. But the old timers will tell you, यार दिल्ली का कुछ भी नहीं है, ये सब उधर से आ रहा है, ये सब उधर से आ रहा है. लेकिन those forces are playing out here, you know, and I got the sense because you know, I don't know, like just trying to wonder sometimes. Okay, how does the fan, you know, the electric fan on top of our heads, how does the fan work? How does the fan go round and round? The electric fan. And then, as you know, Satish and Gauri and Puhai, you know, inside the fan, this much we all know, even as lay people, that there are these coils there, you know, Anshuman, those coils, those copper coils,
Yes, sir. Windings.
winding, pura winding.
Yes.
So I'm told,
Yes.
खेला उसी में winding में ही है.
Yes, sir. वो मैग्नेटाइज हो जाता है
हाँ.
और इसके अंदर में एक परमानेंट मैग्नेट रहता है और
हाँ.
इन दोनों के बीच का मतलब उससे फैन सिंक्रोनस स्पीड पकड़ता है और फिर हम लोग रेगुलेटर से एज अ रेजिस्टेंस इसको रेगुलेट करते हैं द स्पीड को.
अच्छा. You use the word resistance there.
Yes, sir. Actually, regulator is resistance only.
I see, I see, I see. So that means that there is an invisible kind of play of pull of forces that is created within that winding, right?
Right, sir. We
And
control the current.
yeah,
The
and
flow
that
of current,
uh,
sir, the flow of current creates the magnetization of the
yeah,
winding. And as we control the current, the magnetic effect slows or increases.
yeah, but then the turning thing has to happen, no? The thing has to turn like this.
Yes, sir.
And that is because there is that kind of a force is created there, right? Some kind of a wave or
Yes, sir.
something. And then
Electromotive force.
you have to, yeah, exactly. And I think that force is very important. What do you call it? Electromotive force.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, and that has all kinds of things, right? With the, no, I don't know, the, what is it called? North pole, south pole? No, not like some polar or something. The magnetic poles, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there are all kinds of things that are going on, Gauri. It's not very simple. It's not like political science, which is, I think, much simpler. स्टेट है, राइट्स है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, कितना आसान कर देता है. ये सब में घुसने से बहुत दिक्कत है.
Sir, can I?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole discussion, because I've only studied science till 10th and all that, and I remember every discussion about electricity had a discussion relating to energy as well. Where does electricity come from, or the sources of energy, and all that. So then, if we can electricity, the way charge works and all is unrepresentable, but it is not free. It is there is a source to it. There is I don't know. So is there a source? Is there where is it coming from?
It's
And
coming from the waters, from the rivers, from the hydroelectric points, Gauri. That's how I think, to make
yeah,
it simple.
so then there are like forms of energy, potential energy, kinetic and energy, all
Yes,
of
yes.
in
The
electricity.
potential.
Uh,
So then I was thinking, is there? So then if we think about internet in that manner, what is the source then? Where is that coming from?
Charge, again, it's the same thing. It's a 1001, that thing, which is a representation of data, right? But what this article, so in that sense, if you read only this Galloway article, in a typical social science fashion, and then you don't go to the electricity, the charge part, then of course you just talk about data and you start from there. But what we are doing is that we are saying, okay, but data itself, how does that, what is it? What is data? Because okay, it's unrepresentable, maybe you cannot visualize it, you cannot see it. I mean, all the data that is there in a 500 GB hard drive, you know I do not know, maybe in the disk which rotates, which revolves like the hard disks, compared to the solid state, maybe it's different. Is it true, Anshuman, that the data is stored in SSDs that has the electron, whatever the charge kind of a thing, but it does not apply to the HDD where you have a disk which goes round and round? Is that true, Anshuman?
Sir, I don't have the exact idea.
You see, that's the but my sense is that maybe the like say, okay, if you go back to say the tape, the cassette, you know, जो cassettes बोलते हैं ना, cassettes.
Sir, I think there are 16-bit registers used
Yeah.
in these devices.
Okay. Which ones?
Sir, 8-bit, 16-bit registers.
Acha, in which devices?
Sir, SSDs.
Oh, I see.
I'll check and tell you right now.
Yeah. You prepare anyway. So we get the broad point here. That the unrepresentability and the lack of visualization is something which is embedded in the very medium through which this data is produced, the medium um, that through which the algorithms are based on, right? There has to be some kind of I mean, if you can use the word substrate, some substance. What is the substance? Substance in that philosophical sense. Like when you ask a question like, oh, what is the ontological basis of existence or something, right? At that level, when you ask, then you say, okay, that is the charge. And the charge itself goes back to electricity. Now, of course, even before humans so-called discovered electricity, we know that this electricity is already there in nature. And the one example of the charge is, of course, the lightning. You have the thunder and lightning, and that is also, and sometimes people die because of lightning. And what happens when people die because of a lightning? And I think, I don't know what happens. I've never seen one directly, but I guess it's as though you've electrocuted. You have been electrocuted. That means it's there already in nature. Or if you take those two white stones and then you, you know, you 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 can create a spark, you know, by making them collide, right? And that's a charge. There's a little charge there. So now, so what humans have done is that they have learned to create charge to kind of and create a current and the electricity, and then that takes all these forms that finally gives you the data and the internet. And hence from there, because of the very substance and the character of the thing, which is the electric charge, the 1001, which is also called binary logic, I think. Because of that, the entire problem of representability, um, or rather unrepresentability, is then not just a political or a sociological problem. It is something embedded in the nature of the thing, right? And I think that is something really important for us to keep in mind. So what happened was that in their other essay, which discusses Boccioni and a whole lot of others, including the artist Kandinsky, including theosophists. Now look at this. You know, we know about theosophy. What is theosophists? You know, Annie Besant and others, the theosophical movement which influenced Vivekananda. I don't know, Aurobindo Ghosh, and a whole lot of others. Who knows, Dayanand Saraswati. It's really that theosophy we are talking about here. Now, of course, when you in India, when we just think of theosophy, we just think in terms of spiritualism, Vedanta. You know, Vivekananda went and gave that great speech apparently in Chicago in the, what was that? The Society, World Society of Religions or something, right? In 1800. When was that? 94 or something? What was the year Vivekananda gave that famous speech? Anybody? Okay, maybe I don't know what year. So maybe 1890 or sometime around that. 1893. Okay. So all that happened. Now the thing is that the theosophical ideas, the spiritual ideas, the notions about God and religion and all of that. Now, how is that connected to this electricity thing? Well, it's connected, you know, and that's where it opens another dimension. I think Ansuman got logged out or something. Uh, and that other dimension is the question of enlightenment, the question of what happens to your consciousness when you are in that level of meditation, enlightenment, and trying to traverse the higher realms of consciousness, right? You know, Buddhism as the notion of dhyan, which in Pali is written as jhana, you know, and you guys have all heard, for example, what is that meditation course which a lot of people do, where you cannot talk for 10-15 days?
Vipassana.
Oh, yeah, Vipassana, yeah. So the point of Vipassana means what? It's a kind of an insight, you know, it's a mindfulness, right? And when you do Vipassana, I mean, when you do a real Vipassana, you know, I mean, not just like you go to this place and you do it for 15 days, but imagine the meditation which, I mean, Vipassana is associated with the Buddha, right? That's what the Buddha did, Gautam Buddha. Lord Buddha, he did that. And there's a particular religious text also, I mean, the Buddhist Pali text on that. And there you see the Buddha talks about different levels of consciousness. Called the jhana, you know. It's a Pali word, but it's kind of connected to dhyan, you know, like the dhyan that you do in the different levels. And there you see even like when you reach the highest level, you know, in the Upanishads, one of the Upanishads will talk about the highest level, which is the fourth state of consciousness. When you become like at one with the universe, at one with the world, you know, Brahmalin, you know, that kind of a thing I'm talking about, you know. And please, with your permission, I'm indulging you in all these notions. So now, when you get into those kind of states of meditation, of higher consciousness, you know, the Upanishad has a particular word called Turiya. You know, Turiya is the highest level of consciousness that you find in the Upanishads. You know, there's nothing beyond Turiya. That is the highest level of consciousness. That's like pure consciousness. That's like undifferentiated consciousness, you know, where there is no representation. There's no representation there. Do you think it's possible to think of a high level of consciousness, the highest level, say, but which has no representation whatsoever? It's like consciousness without representation. Oh, sorry. I meant without. That's without. that's that's without, without representation of any kind. And if you read the Upanishads, they say yes, you know, that's the real consciousness, the consciousness in which there's representation. Of course, now don't forget that big word that is used in not just you know, Indian religions, but also maybe in Christianity and all of that, because all these religions, no, including Christianity, Buddhism, and all that, they always talk about, oh, we want to go beyond the worldly, you know, flesh, worldly, you know, thing of flesh and desire. It's all because it's all Maya, right? It's all like illusion, and the real thing is up there, to be at one with the Almighty, with the soul, with the universe and Brahma and all of that. So this thing about not having representation is also connected with this, that we should rise above desire, because representation, it's as though representation and desire go together, you know, that if you want to be get rid of Maya, if you want to get rid of this illusory world of desire and satisfaction and flesh and money and family and attachments, you know, asakti as it is called, right? The kind of attachment, you know, and also this thing called trishna, right? The yearning, the desire. So, so you have to then think about that level of consciousness which is beyond this realm. But is it possible to go beyond this realm? Is it possible to have consciousness without desire? Is it possible to have consciousness without any kind of reference to this existing world, which is consciousness without any kind of because, you know, think of, say, in Plato and all, you will think, okay, there's this world of ideas and the world of forms, right? And the forms are there, and this world that we live in is actually just shadows of the real forms, the ideal types or something, right? Which is elsewhere. And the philosopher king will have access to that world of forms and not that of shadows, right? So you have that same kind of a thing, and apparently Plato and others also took these ideas from, again, the great India, which is actually true. This is not a joke. This is because there are evidence when Alexander the Great came to India, a lot of his people also kind of got influenced by Buddhism, and a lot of Buddhist notions went back to Greece and then came in the form of the theory of transmigration of soul in Plato, and Plato does have a theory like that. So the thing. So can you think of consciousness then without representation, without desire, without any kind of reference to the real world, without any reference? Okay, this is the
Sir,
question. Yeah, Satish.
Tagore consciousness on this self-consciousness principle of um, transcendence, uh, the unity within the man.
Mm.
Tagore understanding of the self-consciousness within the man, within the unity within the man.
Okay.
This is consciousness without representation.
Okay. Okay, but what about an individual? I mean, because at the end of the day, the consciousness has to reside in some mind, right? It is true
Okay.
that it is true that okay, maybe you can talk about a national consciousness, maybe you can talk about a collective consciousness, because in your case, that's what you are hinting at, right? There's a collective consciousness between men, say brotherhood, love
Yes,
between different nations, right?
universal, cosmopolitan.
Yeah, universal cosmopolitan. Okay, fine. But again, this universal cosmopolitan consciousness has to exist in some real individual, right? I mean, if there are no humans alive, then of course there won't be any national consciousness, cosmopolitan, this thing, right? Because there are real humans who believe in that kind of a thing in cosmopolitanism. That's how we can say there's a cosmopolitan consciousness. But if we were to think in terms of the individual now, the individual who is capable, like you, me, I'm talking about individuals like that. So, can you have a consciousness about, or do you ever, or can you ever enter into a particular stage of consciousness where there's no representation of any kind, where you have become a pure zero null point, let's say? I mean,
So what about the mobile application that we are using, which is built upon the developed by the specific language, right? So this using of this mobile app is a consciousness without representation as an individual, like the mobile app means by the
but
Instagram.
yeah, but there's representation, no? There are some pictures, this, that. There's a reference to the real world.
So I'm talking about individual of using that apps, not about the apps representing something, or not just about using of that individual of using that apps.
Yeah, what happens? Can you tell us what happens when an individual uses an app? What does it have to do with consciousness and representation?
While using that app, so yeah.
No, okay. Forget about that. Can you ever think without any thought which has no connection with anything in this world? That is the question.
So can you repeat please?
Can you think without representing anything? Like
So,
all your thoughts has some reference to the real world, right? Yeah, Gauri.
so there's also this concept of samadhi, which I remember, as in
Okay.
when enlightened people, they do not die, but instead
Yeah.
they pass over or something of that sort.
Yeah.
So is that consciousness without a representation then?
Yeah, that's what it could be. It could be samadhi, you know. Someone, I mean, I have a friend, I had a friend, I mean, he's still alive. So, yeah, I still have him. I have a friend who used to say that, he had once gotten into ashrams and all, and he was quite into like this. I don't know what ashrams he was in. I don't know, Ramakrishna ashram or something like that. And he used to say he used to like do meditation, and he used to say that he used to actually fly, it seems, you know. Then we were like, no, man, how can you fly? It's not possible. Then he said, no, no, I used to fly. You know, I mean, what does it take to fly? I mean, can you fly like you just sit it on a bed doing meditation? and then you say you're flying. That means you like become some pure ether, you know, you become air. How can you fly? Can you fly? Come on, you can't fly, right? But a lot of people say these things. Levitation, no, they levitate. And saints and sages all over the world. I was recently talking to a Christian pastor, and he was telling me about the meditative practices of, I think there is a Saint Francis of Assisi. Is there a saint like that? Saint Francis of Assisi, I think. Or one of the saints, you know, and he says he's a pastor, he teaches in a Christian seminary, and he teaches them about Saint, I don't know whether Saint Francis, he's meditation techniques, you know, and they really like fly. And then you're right, you know, the samadhi, where they say that they can leave their body at will. And the ether, you know, the ether, called the ether, no? Ether. This ether that you saw in thing, I don't know if I think I gave you that reading also, because the invisibility of the charge of the current, you know, and the fact that it can precisely the cosmopolitan thing that you were saying, Satish, you know, that cosmopolitan, that net, that web connecting, the connectivity, the global village, you know, that is the ether, you know, and that's why Ethernet. So every laptop has a Ethernet port. Yes, you know, I mean, when we discuss it in religious terms, the ether looks like a fanciful idea, superstitious, only dumb people will believe in it. But then you see that your laptop has a port. It's called the Ethernet port. And then you connect that and you get internet through that, right? So that invisibility. But then, in why theosophy got influenced, why religious figures also got influenced when electricity first came about, or why a lot of maybe religious people opposed electricity. You know, I mean, you had to oppose electricity because it's as though you were trying to like bring God on earth or something, which is not possible. God has to remain God. So the reason why that happened was that it was whether then consciousness, a pure consciousness is possible, or consciousness without representation, like samadhi. Like I told you earlier, you will see it later when you read and think about it. The Turiya, which is the highest state of consciousness. But you guys still haven't just given me a simple and a very unintellectual. I want an unintellectual answer sometimes, you know, from you guys, and that will help us understand. Sometimes when you become very intellectual, you know, you block your spontaneous thoughts. And so I repeat the question, which is that can you think without referring to anything else outside, you know, or can you not really think, because think has this element of a conscious effort, you know, like you are thinking, you think about something. But do you ever enter that state of mind? I'm not even using the term consciousness, where you just are like a null point, you know, where you are zero. You are like, yeah, you are actually flying then, you know, right? Do you ever enter into that state where you lose all touch with this world? It's a very tough thing I'm asking.
Sir, I want to say sleeping, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay, sleeping, yeah, in your dreams, you know, in your dreams, you know, right? Yeah, when you sleep, you're caught up, you're in your dream. Satish, you don't dream or what? Satish.
Yeah, I dream.
Satish is dreaming about Rabindranath Tagore, cosmopolitanism. Huh?
So
Gang
yes, I
mein,
dream.
gang mein, gang mein, dream, you know, you dream.
Yeah.
Not just dream. Okay, but what about daydreaming? All the time we are daydreaming. Daydreaming, you are daydreaming, you have become Elon Musk. Ansuman is imagining that. He's become Elon Musk. Ansuman is imagining he's daydreaming. Gauri, I caught him one day. You know what he's daydreaming? He's become a combination of Elon Musk and Agamben put together. Right, Ansuman? And then you lose touch with anything around you. Right? Your Agamben and Elon Musk put together. Wow, it's so nice and um, the entire you have not just one but 10 Nobel Prizes you're winning, one after another. You can dream this. It doesn't have to have any connection with this outside world. It is daydreaming, and then you dream when you sleep. But is dream really that state of consciousness which has no connection with the outside world? भाई बताओ ड्रीम के बारे में पूछ रहा
So
हूँ.
I think it sort of
हाँ,
represents something though.
yeah, tell
Even
me
if you're
how.
dreaming, I think it sort of represents though. Like when you dreams about something, it's sort of something that I don't know that had a connection with the real world.
Yeah.
So when you dreams about something, maybe something not realistic even, still then I think it does have connection with the real world. I think consciousness is still there.
Okay, have you guys ever dreamt of flying? Like you are flying, like not in a plane, like you are flying like a bird or something. Have you ever dreamt that? Any one of you here?
Yeah, sometimes we do like so when we sort of let's say like we are running in our dreams.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
sometimes we sort of fly, right?
Yeah,
When we
yeah,
run,
yeah.
sometimes we can it seems like we can like
That's
sort of
right. It's
run across
amazing.
the
It's
mountain,
amazing,
right?
right? It's amazing. I see that dream
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
You're right.
But then that's sort of also don't you think come about because of the things that we have seen in our real life?
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Have you seen collecting lots and lots of money? Tons of money you have collected.
yeah.
Huh? Satish, do you see that collecting tons of money?
Yeah, I imagine it, imagination of collecting a bag of money in the rocks.
Yeah, tons of money, and then you suddenly wake up, there's nothing around you, no money, nothing. So yeah, Gangme, you're right, So even when we see these fantastic dreams that are not really true, still that connection is there with the whatever, with the real world, let's say. You know, so what should we say? Then that does not qualify. That means dream does not qualify for this. Dream is not a example of consciousness without representation. Dreams is also representation. Dream is also completely connected with the real world. And dream is completely in the world of realm of desire. So Gauri, the Samadhi, if you say compare Samadhi and dream, Samadhi is of course higher than dream, right? And that's what the Upanishad says, that it's only when you go beyond dream. What is there beyond dream? Is there another state beyond dream? I mean, of course, you see, when you're talking about dream, you're talking about sleep. You're sleeping and then you dream. Now, what is there beyond that is a sleep where you are not even dreaming. No dream. Dreamless sleep. Right? Swapna Rahit Nidra. And that is really what one is talking about. Yeah. So in theosophy, they really were after this state of consciousness, which is dreamless sleep, which is Swapna Rahit Nidra. And that is supposed to be that kind of a pure consciousness. Now, that pure consciousness pure consciousness, which does not have material determinations, which does not have, in that sense, real determinations. Now, that is what the theosophists are thinking in terms of the ether. Ether को क्या बोलते हैं हिंदी में? In any Indian language, ether? So that is what one is talking about. Now, when the electricity comes, they think that they have now found the essence of ether, that kind of a unrepresentable, invisible power or force, which can completely, connect all humans, and maybe the higher realms also beyond humans. They thought that electricity was really that. And so today, when you are talking about Ethernet, when you're talking internet, when you're talking about the global, and that higher power, internet as some kind of a spirit, some kind of a ghost. And even today, we don't really know, in an everyday sense, we don't really know what it is. It just comes, and you just do streaming, this, that. You don't know what is really going on. And these are not palpable, right? You can't touch and feel it. It needs some kind of thinking and analysis and theorizing to really then understand the presence of such an invisible force. And that's slightly covered in that other article that I gave you. And what is the name of that writer, that other article? So, and that's where the that's the Navarro, I think so, yeah. This one, right? And that's why you see this book is titled From Energy to Information. Now, I don't know, in the 19th century, and all this time, whether they imagine that there will be, this thing about energy. I don't know whether this transition from energy to information. I don't know, because if you look at, say, the writings of Walter Benjamin, if you look at the Kandinsky, and along with Kandinsky, the other very famous artist, what is his name? The Cubist painter, Pablo Picasso, right? And Picasso is very active in this. Pablo Picasso, and a lot of the Soviet artists, so when you look at them, of course, they were that's the milieu we are talking about, and Einstein's theory of relativity, this, that, a lot of these things which we do not even fully know what is going on, and all these Hertzian waves, radio waves, this, that. You will see, like, a lot of it is, and then some of it's connected with the First World War, which uses some of these technologies that are available, and all of that. So, so see if you guys can find out more about this. Here, what is written here, this electric theory of matter, because I think this is really what is, I think, what can interest us, this electric theory of matter here. Because then it means that matter, if I think everything has a charge, which is, I think, the static part or something. So any matter can be tested or seen in terms of whether or not it can be a conductor, it can transmit a flow of electrons. And I think this was a major discovery, right? So keep that in mind. Um, so we'll stop here with this. But I hope you get a sense of where of what we are thinking here, and why the electricity part is so important. Now, and yeah, so other reference that you see here is, of course, to the futurists, Marinetti and others. And these futurists, they also they in a way they in a way anticipate the rise of, in some ways, the rise of communism, the October Revolution, as well as the rise of Hitler, the rise of fascism. You know, so and at this point, say around this time when all these debates are happening, including the Theosophists, and as you know, some of the Theosophists, of course, they came to India also. So there were a lot of them came to India. Even Kandinsky was influenced by some of the ideas in the Upanishads and all, and this entire interaction is going on, and it's true that in that sense, not the Rabindranath Tagore that you study in political science courses, but Rabindranath is influenced as representing in the West, in kind of stereotypical terms, what is called the Eastern spiritual traditions. That kind of feeds into this kind of ideas of the ether, of the electric charge, and more esoteric kind of ideas. Um, so so the Marinetti and other artists and scientists, you see some of their names are there, Apollinaire and others, including Soviet artists. They got majorly influenced by um, this. I mean, so a lot of Marxists in Russia, which is not Marxist in the way we understand Marxists today. They were like practitioners of art and technology, and they were playing with all kinds of media forms, and they didn't really talk about art, but artistic production. So even they are in this same milieu, um, you know, which is like a intellectual milieu. The intellectual culture, say, of the first part of the first quarter of the 20th century, and his influences later you will see in Walter Benjamin, for example, right? So that kind of a thing. So it'll be nice, Anshuman, can you tell us in the next class a little bit of this electromagnetic part, right? Because I think that's one thing that you need to be clear about, because electricity, charge, and all that, okay, we kind of get a sense, but the magnetic part that which comes, see if you can tell us a little bit in the next class.
Okay, sir.
Make a little presentation.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. What else?
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yeah. So this.
Uh, so this representation, this El Galloway talks about this representation, how to represent. So he said that representation happens even when we feel anxiety or some kind of a violence, right? So my question is like banning of app. My research proposal is on this case study on this and is app ban. So this app ban is kind of a specific experience of a kind of a violence that helps in producing this representation thing. Like is app ban politicizing data visualization.
Mm, okay. App ban by the government, you mean, right? You're
Yeah, yeah,
referring to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. My question is, have been politicizing this data visualization through this help of this cyber warfare, or this all this government act of controlling the cyber warfare, like information technology act, something like that. Is have been politicizing data visualization?
You see, one thing is there. I mean, I think you have hinted in a very interesting direction because when we are talking about electricity, this, that, unrepresentability, and all that, and then suddenly you bring us to the day-to-day news, let's say, because the app ban is something which is there in the newspapers, it is playing out in mainstream politics.
From the perspective of the
Yeah,
society, control society.
yeah. So I think when you bring us up to speed, from these esoteric philosophical ideas we are discussing, Satish, you have brought us suddenly to breaking news, prime time. You have brought us to prime time news. But I would thank you for that because it helps me get my thoughts sorted here. And so that's a very good intervention you have made by bringing this up like this. Because what is happening, I think I kind of agree with the direction in which you are pointing out. You're very right that they are trying to bring about some kind of a, whatever you said, the by banning apps, the data which would otherwise remain invisible and not talked about in that sense, the data that would just remain in the servers, in the algorithms, and maybe it's just accessible or accessed by the individual user, that is somehow politicized, and in that sense, it is the government through its actions tries to create a representation of it, even though the
Yeah, yes,
representation
sir.
is not possible in a literal
It helps
sense.
us. It helps us to represent from this
Yeah,
government, from the vending.
yeah, because you see what is also going on is this entire debate around data sovereignty, right? You've heard about this data sovereignty, where the government in India will say, oh, we will not allow WhatsApp, we will not allow Facebook, or we will put a lot of
Yes,
restrictions
yes,
because the entire data is stored. Where is it stored? The WhatsApp data. It's not stored in India, right?
yes, sir.
Where is it stored? It's stored in the US.
Right.
The Google servers are not in India, they are in the US. WhatsApp servers, they are in the US. Now, China has devised their own Facebook called Weibo or something, whose data is stored within China. So, because the data is unrepresentable for India in a double sense now. So, the sense in which we were talking about earlier, that is, of course, there. But the second sense is that because of the division of nation states, it is not accessible to the government of India. If the data is stored in India, then anytime Ajit Doval will say, okay, I will send you NIA, immediately, because of the fear of NIA and UAPA and Citizen, the company will immediately allow access to the government. They come and have a look at the data that is there. Today, the government has to request WhatsApp, please share the data, the WhatsApp messages of Disha Ravi, right? So the unrepresentability factor which is there is kind of in a double sense for the Indian government. But what politics is doing today through these app bans and through this forcing of WhatsApp to keep their data service in India is that it is doing a kind of an exercise to as though they could undo the unrepresentability of the data, which you cannot undo because that's in the nature of the data. But politically, it becomes a talking point. In that sense, there is a kind of quote unquote visibility of data within politics. So yeah, I think I would agree with you that politically it is kind of made visible, so I think you can carry this point further. So that's a direction you can definitely take, Satish.
Good, thank you, sir.
Yeah. But mind you, the unrepresentability is also about the earlier thing that I was telling you in the earlier lecture about the production system, the consumption system, right? The entire supply chains, the just-in-time production. So it is not just like connected to data and information and the digital and the charts and all that, right? It's also the way materially these systems are organized. Recently, I mean, I was just thinking when you take the roads in Delhi, or if you are on a flyover, so you know that when you are coming from Safdarjung, when you are coming from IIT side towards say Delhi Heart, you know that AIMS is on your right, you know, right? If you're coming from IIT flyover towards Delhi Heart, AIMS, the hospital, is on your right. But you cannot just say, oh, because it is in the right, I will take a right turn. No. The flyovers are such that they make you take a left turn. Right? So they will say take a left turn, and then that road will lead you to AIMS eventually. So you cannot go by your there is a kind of a the way the system is organized, you cannot use your brains, you just have to follow the arrows basically. The system is not accessible to you, right? Because you say, no, man, it's on the right. Why am I taking a left? You say, no, you take the left. You take the left. बच्चा लेफ्ट ले लो तुम उधर ही पहुंचोगे. वो तुम्हारा हेडेक नहीं है, वो गवर्नमेंट का हेडेक है, गवर्नमेंटालिटी का हेडेक है कि तुमको एम्स तक पहुंचाना है. वो कैसे पहुंचाएगा वो तुम्हारा टेंशन मत लो उस पे, तुम बस फॉलो करो रूट को. हाँ, यानी कि these are all impervious systems, you see. You just have to follow. Just follow. You don't use your brains. Right? And you see that in so many instances like that everywhere in our life today. You don't know, man, where it is coming from. You know, it's all highly mediated. I want to order food from a local guy, आपके घर के बगल में there is a dhaba. You said, I want to get food from the dhaba and you want to order. How will you order food? I want to call him directly, और भाई जी, अरे चावला जी चलिए, हाँ, दाल मखनी और 5 रोटी भेज दीजिएगा. I can't say that. चावला जी told me कि नहीं सर जी, आप स्विगी डाउनलोड करो, उसी में है अभी हमारा. पहले तो डायरेक्ट फोन करते थे, अभी चावला जी खुद बोलते हैं, नहीं अभी हमारा तो स्विगी में है, जोमेटो में है. बाबा रे, it's all highly mediated. The guy is hardly 100 meters away, yeah, from my this thing. Right? This is all like so many mediating layers in between. Now, at one level, you can just say it's a problem of complexity. That, okay, we are not back in those earlier tribal and hunting-gathering societies where everything was was so simple, close at hand. I mean, nobody is saying that, that wants to get back to that. And so in that sense, you already had complex societies 2000 years ago. So it's not like we are talking about capitalism or something. Complexity has been there, no, already. Right, Anshuman? You didn't need capitalism to have this.
Yes, sir.
What do you say, Gauri? Are you following?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we need to make these distinctions. We got to historicize it. We need to we're not just saying it in general terms, but there's something more specific. Then we can say, then when capitalism comes, what happens? um, you know, how does capital come and combine with this and all? Um, so, so in any case, so the unrepresentability happens at so many different levels, and that of course creates the conditions for allegory and all that we wanted to talk about earlier. Allegory, but also ideology. Um, so let Ansuman tell us more about the electromagnetic thing and the unrepresentability. And Ansuman shared with me this Roger Penrose book, and
Yes, sir.
there, yeah, I'm not familiar with his. I mean, I know about him a little bit, but say this thing that apparently he argues there, that consciousness is not organized like an algorithm. That's a very interesting point, because one thing which I didn't point out here today, which is the fact that in the brain, apparently, in the brain, if you want to and I think this is I mean, this is just how our brain is full of charges, electric charge in the brain. So if you want to increase your thinking capacity for all of us, if I think we want to be more intelligent than we already are, if you want to be really fast in our thinking and all, then you go to a doctor and then you tell, please doctor, do something, I want to be really intelligent. I want to have a great memory, I should be able to, I read, and people have all kinds of memory, there are some people who will read say a long article and be able to, they memorize it in no time and they can narrate the entire thing. Some people are very good at remembering lyrics of a song, others are not, you know. So there are some crazy characters who can remember so much. So yeah, apparently if you go to a doctor, a neurologist or someone doing brain experiments, then they will say that, okay, fine, if you want to increase your brain capacity, then okay, you come one day, we will do a thing on you. And what will the doctor do? Apparently, what they do is they will give a electric shock, it seems, in your brain. So once you get that electric shock, your brain, it seems, becomes really, really fast. Okay. This I found somewhere. I was reading about it. So what it means is that the brain, the thought process, everything is also connected with the flow of charge. There is a charge I don't know, in fact, some people say that if you take certain medicines, for your, I don't know, for your brain or something like potassium, zinc, those are metals. And somebody told me, and Ansuman, please tell us if this is true, that the brain, what is there in the brain? Nerves, not nerves, neurons and all.
Neurons, yes, sir.
Yeah, neurons and all. Apparently, it's actually made of those metals.
They
Huh?
I don't know about metals, but they transmit information through quarks.
Quarks.
What we
Yeah,
read, what
yeah,
we read in quantum physics,
yeah.
and which consists of a spin and an anti-spin. So
Okay,
it
yeah,
is difficult to trace the motion of that element,
yeah.
that motion, but
Hmm.
at the level of quantum mechanics.
Yeah. So, and it looked like to me that Roger Penrose is trying to say that we can still, yeah, I mean, he's trying to say that we have to go towards quantum and not the Newtonian physics model, right, to understand consciousness.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
He is very much taking into Heisenberg's debate of uncertainty
Okay,
into
okay.
like the domain of reality, the domain of
Uh,
where it can be materially proved.
yeah. So, so keep all this in mind. You know, I and then we will, yeah, we will come to less less esoteric ideas from the more straightforward articles we can do later. But keep all this in mind. If you guys ever go to, like, say, Sai Baba Ashram or Sri Ravi Shankar, or any of these spiritual kind of things, including Jiddu Krishnamurti, or if you go to, what is that guy who is all over the YouTube? The guy is क्या है वो, श्री श्री रविशंकर जैसा दूसरा, बहुत बोलता है ना
Sadhguru.
वो, Sadhguru and all, Yeah.
Yes.
So if you go to their things, then you will see some of their top followers, the all kinds of followers of Sadhguru, some are also ordinary people and all. Some of my uncles and aunts, they are into Sadhguru, but more high profile followers also they have, no? So often you will see, if you look at the high profile followers of all these gurus, you will have top scientists, Harvard brain physicists, Oxford scientists, those kind of really like cutting edge people. And often you see that those who are working in brain sciences are followers of all these gurus. And there's a specific reason why that happens. And that's also what we are covering here, right? When you're talking about brain, electricity, consciousness, ether, blah, 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 and all of that. So keep that in mind. This is, and then of course, you have more grounded people, philosophers and others also write about it, including Slavoj Zizek has written about it. There's so many others who are within critical theory, including Deleuze and Guattari and everyone. There's a whole lot of people who also writing about these things, including the 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 philosophers and artists, from the Italian futurists to Pablo Picasso to other Cubists to other artists, Soviet artists, Malevich, Lizetsky, Rodchenko, right? All these guys, including the famous Soviet filmmaker Jiga Vortov, you know, um, Jiga Vortov and your Boris Arbatov, all these people. And Lenin apparently was fascinated by electricity, right? You guys know that, Lenin?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so now a lot of people will say, oh, Lenin was talking about, oh, he was said, okay, let's have a lot of production in the Soviet Union. So it was some kind of a urge to have more production and compete with the United States. So Lenin said, let's get something American efficiency plus electricity, something like that, which is true. Lenin said that, but there was at the level of more serious artists and scientists and philosophers in the Soviet Union. These kind of other debates were taking place about the electric theory of matter and ether and all of that. So keep that in mind, that we have touched on one of the core philosophical intellectual domains, of this period. And don't forget that this is also the time Heidegger and others are forming the thoughts about technology, about industrialization, And as you know, Heidegger becomes very influential then, later influencing even people like Carl Schmitt, and all of that. So this entire intellectual milieu which gets created at this time, you know, and out of which you have fascism, communism, and fascism also deploys some of these ideas in its own way. So this is a very important debate that we are touching upon. So far, we have done some. I think the readings that I've given you are these two readings, and I haven't given you anything else, right? Apart from these two. Um, um, um,
So 2 readings on ether and 1 on unrepresentability.
oh yeah, that was the book also, no? The book, the ether one.
Yeah, ether and modernity.
Ether and modernity, and that's a good one. I think you get a sense. Gauri, did you try to have a look at that book? It's a you
No,
get a
sir,
sense.
I just read Galloway. I didn't read the book. I will.
Okay. Have a look at the introduction and all. You get a sense. You get a sense. These are not very accessible because these are more very niche kind of debates, you know. So it might take some time to really feel that you are sure about what you are getting. This article is more dense. This article which talks about Boccioni, you know, from this vibratory modernism. But the book, if you look at the introduction and all, is fairly accessible. You know, so have a look at the book, right, Satish? The book, if you look at the introduction and all, it's okay. Gangme, what do you say?
I haven't seen the book, sir.
Yeah,
I mean,
have a look.
yeah.
Yeah, have a look at the book. It's kind of accessible, you know. And this is also something, you know, you have to. It takes time for you to get drawn into it. You know, it takes some effort. Initially, you might be put off. You don't know what you are talking about, or you know, it's that kind of thing. But and also you should start with basics. You know, like how does the fan move, for example. You know, right? Things that are always around you, but you never thought about these things. And then it becomes interesting. You know, it's also about discovering how things work because electricity is everywhere. You know, and yeah, and then we never thought about it. You know, we just take it for granted. And I think you should also think in very material terms. So when you say think about electricity, the say change of matter from whatever this energy to that energy, transformation of energy, different forms of energy. But I think if you think, which is what I tend to do, think of because you know that it comes out of water, hydropower, and all of that. Well, it doesn't just come from hydro power; it also comes from thermal and nuclear and all, or from solar, the electricity. But if you think in terms of the water actual, then you visualize the water in the river flowing at a great speed and then hitting on those turbines, and the turbines move around like this, right? And then something happens, and then electricity is generated. So I think the to visualize the process is very important. Yeah. Gauri, do you get me? The visualization, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, for example, if I ask you, Gauri, I don't know if I did this earlier in some class in MA. Say if you have read A plus B whole square is equal to A square plus twice AB plus B square, right? We know this formula.
Yes, yes. Huh.
Now, if I tell you, Gauri, you explain me this formula. What the hell is this? A square, A plus B whole square is equal to A square plus twice AB plus B square. And then you have to visualize it. You have to see A plus B whole square, you know, like you can see it like the way you see the wall of your room, like the way you see anything, you know, it should be like palpable. and it is, you can actually visualize it, right? This formula, right, Anshuman, Satish?
Yes, sir.
You can actually
So
visualize
is
it.
it so it is related to cognitive mapping?
No, you can just visualize it, like you can just yeah, I mean, cognitive mapping, again, you have to visualize that, you know.
So the way the way gravity is visualized by the apple falling on Newton.
Yes, exactly. Even better. Yeah, that's right. But Gauri, a plus b whole square is equal to a square plus twice b plus b square. Can you explain it to us? Can you visualize it for us? Because we know that's true. We have ratified it, right? This formula.
Yes, so I think I would visualize it in terms of the questions we used to get, in the sense that, two people, this is their age, and then let it be X and Y, and then you apply the formula.
Okay, maybe. Yes, yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Stuff like
So
that.
in those terms, it would depend exactly on that question there, then what is the demand and all of that. Yes,
That's
maybe.
right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, you're totally hinting in the right direction. Even though apparently for this a plus b whole square, they do it in terms of the space, like they take a, like, which is the length on one side, and b on another side, right? So you imagine a square or a rectangle, and then you will see when you take the two sides, a one side, b another side, which could be I don't know, a rectangle or a square. So one side is say 4 inches, another is 3 inches. So A is say 4 inches, B is 3 inches, and then if you do A plus B whole square, then you can actually draw it. You can visualize it completely. So that kind of a thing. So yeah. So what I'm telling you guys is that when you read some of these things, you just visualize it. Have you ever been electrocuted, for example? Did you ever get a shock of current? We do that sometimes, in the house, you touch something and then you get that. Oh my God, what was that? You know, um, so really at that level. Uh, so do that. Uh, and yeah, anything else?
Sir, I have one request.
Mm.
Sir, can you suggest me something to read on the relationship between state and technology through the history?
State and technology.
Like I have watched documentaries on World War One, Two, Cold War, and the development of technology and state. I want to read uh, things before that, from Treaty of Westphalia or something, or maybe more than that.
Do you need it for a specific purpose? Like you have to write something, or you just want to, generally, you want
Sir,
to.
I am thinking of writing also, but I also want to matlab, materially concretize what I am thinking.
Yeah, but if you go to Westphalia, there is too big a period, no? So then you will get only general surveys. Are you looking for something more dense and more focused, or a general kind of a thing?
Sir, both will help. I want something focused also, and it can
Uh,
be a general one also. I can read both of them.
I think you do one thing in the from the First World War onwards.
Yes, sir.
Then till the Second World War, there are a lot of interesting writings because the First World War is when all these electricity and waves and radio, and
Yes,
I
sir.
think the aerial was used for the first time.
Yes, sir.
The aerial, because before that humanity didn't know aerial. Like that vantage point was simply not available to humans. And from then on, from the First World War onwards, the relationship of the state with science and technology completely changes,
Yes, sir.
and the rise of the what is that called, the military industrial complex,
Yes, sir.
that is really happening from the First World War onwards. So that is really also because you have stable states, since the First World War, or since the beginning of the, say, after the October Revolution, around that time. 19th
Yes, sir.
century, the relationship between technology and state is kind of loose, because even the process of state formation is in some senses still going on at that time, right? Whereas by the time you come to the 20th century, technology itself has developed a lot. This abstraction which is there, with the rise of electricity, with the rise of all these radio waves and the aerial, that means the abstraction which is the state and the abstraction of the aerial of these kind of esoteric energy forces like electricity, the use of the tanks and the guns, which means that it eliminates the necessity of close combat in warfare, that kind of creates the ground for a more abstract and more powerful state, you know. So you have really powerful states that could emerge now because of the changes in technology and the way humans now start becoming like fodder for technology. The role of actual humans in direct combat, the role of humans was far greater earlier. So the wars could not be that well organized. It could not be that well concentrated. It could not be, you couldn't have, for example, wars involving slaughter of millions of people. But now that's possible. And that's why First World War really is a big landmark, right? And that's
Yes,
where
sir.
also totalitarian states could emerge now. So you have the rise of Nazism, you have the rise of also the Soviet state with such features, and then also, of course, the Americans. So, in terms of relationship between technology and state, this is the period that you really need to focus on. So there are some interesting, works there. I have some. What I'll do, I'll include that in this course. So I will email you that there is a book. I'm not able to remember the name, but I should be able to check it, and I'll send it to you. And that's a very very interestingly written work, very well informed. Ah,
Yes, sir.
so I'll send it to you.
Okay, sir.
You can have a look at that.
So please send me to me also.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll send to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's stay with this 1 week, and then from the next week we will go to slightly more straightforward readings. Because these are slightly more. We're just trying to you know touch the surface of these things. So from next week we will have more hopefully more straightforward readings. Uh, so yeah. Um, Anything else? So apparently you guys are fixing a research method class with me also. Has that already happened?
Yes, sir, we got to
Yes.
know that next week there will be an offline class. Sir, is there any way to conduct it online?
Of course, the way to conduct it online is to conduct it online, and then we have it online, you know, or we have to talk to Madam Professor Saxena.
Has
What is Madam Professor Saxena saying?
I think she's been bombarded by a lot of requests asking the classes to be online. That she said that some classes will be offline while the others would be online. And
Okay.
I think classes from the department would be offline. And
Hmm.
whenever there's a faculty from outside the university, it is online.
Okay, very simple rule, huh? Very simple rule. Yeah. So, so let's see. I might take it online. Ah,
Huh.
I might take it online, and but you guys should, should approach Professor Saxena and tell her that, about your, because is everyone in town? I know Gauri, you are away. You are not in Delhi. What
Yes.
are there others who are also not in Delhi?
I think Anshuman has also gone home.
Oh, okay. So you guys should tell, that.
So
Uh,
we have from the first day of admissions, we've been sending mails to the HOD, to Rekha ma'am, to everyone.
uh,
We also made a request to open up the hostel and all of that, but yeah, wasn't really. It didn't
hmm.
really translate to anything else.
Okay, the
Acha.
hostel is not yet opening up.
Oh, it started opening up.
I mean, in South Campus, the boys' hostels have started opening up though,
Okay, okay. Oh, thank you.
even for new enrollment. I don't know about the North.
Uh,
Okay.
Gangme, are you in Delhi, Satish?
Yeah, I'm in Delhi, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm Delhi.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know how to resolve this, but yeah,
So I'm
I'll
okay with
see.
online.
You're okay
Sir, I
with
am
online.
also online. I
Uh,
actually mailed ma'am, but
mm,
the ma'am didn't reply. The CR replied.
saying what?
She was like, some of the classes would be offline. Don't like saying the same thing again and again.
Uh, yeah, so no, but even those who are in Delhi, if you guys give a joint this thing, that because you see, has the government officially withdrawn social distancing? Is COVID over?
No, sir. The cases are rising.
Yeah, if the government has not officially withdrawn COVID, then you have every right to say that, sorry, you can say anything. You can say there are old parents in my house or something, and say that it is risky, that is always, even if you're in Delhi, because in the metro and all, there's no social distancing, The government has officially still not ended all COVID restrictions. The schools are not on, all the schools are shut. Has any school reopened? No, none of the schools have reopened in Delhi.
No, I think schools are open. I think, sir. Some schools. I've seen some
No, no, no.
students.
No, no, it's not. Schools are not, have not started in Delhi. Huh? Where did you see schools reopen,
Oh, in
Satish?
morning I was going out and then I see some. I think some
No, that
Delhi
might be a
school
bunch of
government
students,
students.
No, that might be bunch of like class 10 students. They have their final exams, you
Oh,
know.
yeah,
Yeah, like class 10
probably.
and 12, no, like that. So, or say sometimes students, they are having to go for their lab, the practicals, because chemistry practical or something, no, where they will try to turn lime water milky. Huh? Remember, lime water used to turn milky in the lab. That's what they do. They go there and do that. But I don't think they have opened any schools, so they don't have. And I don't think even UGC has made it mandatory for offline classes. Yeah, So I think you guys should, and even Rekha herself, she's not willing to. She's fine with taking online. By the way, You know, I think she's just coming under some pressure from the university, something like that. Uh, so TK, so let's stick with these this discussion and all. And Ansuman, make a little presentation in the next class before we begin. And Gauri and Satish and Gangme, go through that book a little bit. You will get some sense of what is going on.
Okay, sir.
There's a little reference to the theosophists, things that we are familiar with. So take your time, just go through that. Maybe you can watch YouTube videos about this. These are more interesting areas. These are not within any disciplinary boundaries. What we are discussing right now, it's not political science, it is not physics, it is not chemistry. These are like more general kind of things, like electricity, or of course you study that in physics, but they do that in a disciplinary way. So I would say spend a little bit of time on this. I'll pass on that book, on the email for the thing that Ansuman asked, and everybody can read about it. Because even when you want to understand the rise of fascism, communism, and in particular the kind of states that came about, like say what Satish was asking, this thing about the ban on TikTok, you know, the ban on TikTok, or what I was telling you about data sovereignty, because recently with all the changes that WhatsApp brought about, the Indian government put a lot of restrictions on WhatsApp, and a lot of people said, oh, we should shift away from WhatsApp, let's go to Signal and all, right? So this entire thing, this thing about data sovereignty, this also finally hinges on this, on the very nature of the medium, which is the digital, and then when we push it further, and then we go beyond the notion of the data and its invisibility and unrepresentability, and that's where we go to all the electricity, this, that, and the other, all of that. So usually in the public domain, you don't go that far, but because we are doing a specific course, we want to really dig more into it. So keep all of this in mind. I also read that, I told Ansuman if you can present something on the electromagnetic thing. Apparently, these days, as you know, it has become quite a fad to talk about electric cars, electric car. Everybody's talking electric car, electric car. They're saying slowly the diesel and petrol will be phased out. Now, this, even the electric car, apparently there's something like that. The way the car moves because of electricity is also some kind of a electric field which is created, electromagnetic field or something like that. Ansuman can tell us more next time. So the bit like the way the fan moves, I don't know, something like that, but more advanced, you know. I'm sure it's highly advanced, and all of that. So this is what is come today, now, with the petrol and diesel, there is a combustion. It's internal combustion engine. There's a little fire, and then the piston goes down, and then the thing moves, and then the car starts moving. The wheel starts turning. Now, with the electric car, I think the visualization and the representability becomes even less. You see, Gauri, what is going on here, right? And you see that, if you go to a mechanic, a car mechanic or any mechanic, your whatever doesn't work, you go to a mechanic. You know what the mechanic always says? And Satish, mark my words, take anything, your mixie is not working, घर में, mixie खराब हो गया, you took to a mechanic. They will say, oh, ये ठीक नहीं होगा, or you will say you have to replace the full thing. पूरा ही इसको हटाना पड़ेगा. बोले कि क्यों, इसको ठीक कर दो, पहले वाला तो ठीक कर दिया था. बोले कि नहीं नहीं, अब ये नया वाला में ना वो ठीक नहीं होता है, वो इसको पूरा ही दूसरा लगाना पड़ेगा. Right? You've heard this so many
Yeah.
times.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, why? Because it's all like, it's not, it's not visible. It's all like packed inside, and you don't know. Maybe there's an internal circuit or something, inside. And you have to throw the entire thing and replace it with the new thing. So even mechanics today are reduced to just replacing parts, you know. They can't actually dismantle and fix it, because earlier was more mechanical parts, you know. One part is connected to the other, so they would remove one, or something has got bent or something, usko ठोक ठाक के ठीक हो जाता. Like the way earlier mechanics used to fix cars, you know, the Ambassador car, it is said that any mechanic anywhere in the country can fix any problem in an Ambassador car earlier. Now with the new cars, only company people can open it. Laptops. Earlier, any ordinary computer guy would fix your laptop. These days, this ordinary guy doesn't even know how to open the laptop. वो box ही open नहीं होता है. इस ढंग से, only company people can do that. Which means that everything is getting sealed, everything is getting boxed, everything is non-transparent. And it's not like it's somebody's doing it just out of some kind of sinister mind or something. That maybe also is true. But the nature of technology, the thing used itself is changing drastically. At least say with the earlier hard drives, you could hear the noise, karta hai, wo ghoom raha hai, you know. You could like put your palm, your fingers on the laptop, this thing, you could touch it and you could know कि चलो hard disk घूम रहा है. अभी तो SSD में कुछ नहीं पता चल रहा है भाई, आवाज ही नहीं करना है, कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा है. How will you know what is going on? Nothing you can know. Ansuman, am I right? The new, have you guys seen the new Apple laptop?
Yes, sir.
It does not even have a fan, Gauri. Computers have a little fan, no?
Yes,
उससे
sir.
गर्म हवा निकलता है. रंग में सतीश,
Yes, sir.
सब computers, they have a little fan, no?
Yeah.
Exhaust fan.
Yeah.
Look at the new Apple laptops. Nothing, it's all sealed. And then you don't know, डर लगता है भाई कभी कभी, तो पता नहीं क्या डाल के दिया अंदर में. Right? So this entire unrepresentability is something which I want you to connect with what you are seeing around you. You know, so keep this in mind. Put all of these thoughts together. If you can write a little thing on this, put all your thoughts together, and I leave you to do this exercise. Till we meet in the next class, and please come up with something. In the next class we'll have a discussion, and then we'll move on to other set of readings.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so I'll stop here. I will try to put this up on the YouTube thing, yeah, and so this should be fine. So I'll stop here then.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.